you, Philippa, to give us an introduction to the LEO dataset.
Brilliant, thanks, Greg. So I'm going to give you a brief introduction to LEO, and where better place to start than to explain what LEO is. So could you go on to the next slide, please, Greg? And the next one. So what is LEO? So LEO is longitudinal education outcomes. And simply, LEO is a data set that connects individuals' education data with their earnings, benefits, and tax data. So in this one place, we can see an individual's early years, schools, further education, apprenticeships, higher education information, and then also the earnings, benefits, and tax information after they've left education. So I'm sure that we'll probably all have different levels of familiarity of these separate data sets, these data sources, but I'll quickly go through. So you can see here on the left, it's the National Pupil Database, the NPD, and that contains the early years and school data. And then we've got the ILR, the Individualized Learner Record, and this is where further education and apprenticeships data is. And then we have the HESA data, the Higher Education Statistics Agency, and this is higher education data, undergraduate and postgraduate data. And then at the end, we've got the HMRC and DWP data, which is the earnings, benefits, and tax data. So each of these are huge, highly complex and distinct from each other. And you can have researchers that spend a whole career focusing on just one of these. And I think that's one of the really exciting things about LEO is that it brings these all together in one place for analysis. So you can see information like characteristics such as ethnicity, gender, attainment, where someone studied, etc. And that's available from each of these education sources. And what brings this all together is the earnings, benefits, and tax data. And this is where DfE have data from HMRC and DWP, which is combined into a single data set to make LEO. Now we have visibility of years after education, and this is growing as we'll keep linking new LEO data each year. So by combining the education's earnings and benefits data records of the whole population from 1985 onwards, rich longitudinal analysis of the outcome of citizens' education and interaction with the care system is enabled. So we can use this to investigate the impact that these outcomes have had on citizens' lives in relations to their later earnings, taxations, and whether they've claimed benefits. So the capacity to analyze these longer-term labour market outcomes together at person level enables developments in the assessment of education policy and provision with much greater visibility and accuracy than ever before. So the vast range of highly valuable insights which can be drawn from this enormous data set remains largely untapped, and this is why it's such an exciting opportunity to facilitate more much needed research outcomes. So if you want to go to the next slide, please, Greg. And I think someone just popped up asking a question about the years. I think you'll be able to see that from this, from this slide here. So again, with LEO, all of this together in a relational format is LEO. So you can see the years here where the data starts. So we have school records since 1985, further education records since 2002, etc. So there are approximately 38 million individuals in LEO data, and it's absolutely huge. And the coverage is currently up to approximately age 37. But these numbers will, of course, increase when time passes and we add more data. So LEO includes any individual who's had contact with the English education system. And while DfE LEO covers England, the devolved governments have their own LEOs. So there's a Scottish LEO, Welsh LEO, and a Northern Irish LEO. And in future, we'd love to look at the possibility of joining up with these. So next slide, please, Greg. So thinking about the purpose of LEO, so we've got the purpose here. So that is to enable the UK to gain transformational insights about pathways within and after education in order to enhance the life chances of current and future learners through the enhancement of evidence-based decision making. So with LEO set up and made accessible, and with research being funded, this is what LEO looks to achieve. So you can see here the logos of some various departments and organisations at the bottom. So we've got HMRC, DWP, HESA, ONS, and us at DfE, along with ADR UK and the UKSA. And all these organisations work together to make this data available. It really is cross-government working that makes LEO possible. And thinking about access to LEO, LEO is of course used in DfE for internal analysis, but has been made available to external researchers since I think it was July 2021. And that's via the ONS Secure Research Service, the ONS SRS. And it's held here under the ONS's 5 safes model. And that means that, among other things, that it's functionally anonymous, only UKSA accredited researchers can access it, it is securely transferred and stored, and outputs are subject to a statistical disclosure check before being released. So if you'd like to go to the next slide, please, Greg. Thank you. So I think this slide is just for some information kind of around Leo, because Leo isn't just the data itself, and it's good to remember the kind of supporting products that effectively set up to allow and support the use of the Leo data. So just to go through a couple here, we've got the Leo standard extract. So this is the cut of Leo that is made available for external access via the ONS SRS. We have the Leo via ONS SRS service itself, and we work closely with ONS to deliver that. We also have the Leo user guide, which is a comprehensive guide which has been created to support the use of Leo. And we also have the Leo variable request form there at the bottom, which applicants use to select the variables they wish to access for their project. And in terms of this fellowship, any applicant would need to fill in this variable request form when submitting their full application if they wanted to use Leo. So at the top right there, we've got a couple of examples that are in the dashed lines, and these are products that are not yet out, but we're actively working on. And all of these service products will be iteratively improved until they're replaced with new products over time. About the future, if you'd like to go to the next slide, please, Greg. And then if you could just click again. And yeah, perfect. Thank you. So for Leo, we have lots of development plans in place in a number of areas. One area in particular is improved access, which would allow for faster, more secure access to the data. Things like improved metadata and guidance, activities to reduce the skill bar required to use Leo is one that we're really thinking about and working towards, because it is such a huge, complex data set. Like that level of skill is required to use it, and that's definitely something we want to work on. We're also looking at better connectivity and just anything to improve external access to the Leo service. So there's also data development and linkage improvement and additions to the data. So if you look on the right there, we're looking to include links to ASHI data, Ministry of Justice data, and PNC data. We're also currently working on the addition of 2011 and 2022 census data. And currently there's a pilot working to look at setting up the receipt of monthly real-time information from HMRC, which would really be a game changer in terms of Leo. So rather than go through all of these, I just wanted to draw attention to one in particular, as this is something that's often requested by external researchers. So it's just on the left there, onward linking to researcher nominated data brackets person level. So this is something that is much requested. However, presently, no person level data is allowed to be linked to Leo. This is something we're working on, but at the present time, cannot say exactly when this would be possible. But it's a good thing to look out for in our communications and using our knowledge base and research community. So the research community is something that I'm really keen to talk about, which was set up last year. And I've got a slide in a little while about that. But every time someone's working with Leo, they'll be learning from it. And we really want to harness this and encourage kind of peer-to-peer support and knowledge sharing. And this will ultimately help to improve the usability and ease of access to Leo. So next slide, please, Greg. So actually, this is a really exciting time for the Leo programme, and we're just on the cusp of making the second iteration of the Leo standard extract available for researchers to access, and they'll be accessing that through the ONS SRS system. So this includes updated years of MPD, ILR, HESA and Leo data, with the most recent data available up to year 2021. So the second iteration, which will be available imminently, will also see the inclusion of COVID-19 furlough data. And this will be the CJRS, which is the Coronavirus Job Retention Scheme data. And this is available for years 2019 to 2021. and then also the SEISS, which is the Self-Employment Income Support Scheme data, a bit of a mouthful, which is available for the year 20 to 21. IDBR data, which is something that's been requested for a long time, will be available with Leo. And this is the Interdepartmental Business Register. And this allows for the first time users of Leo to identify what industry an individual works in. And this opens up a whole new world of potential research. So this will be included in the Leo earnings tables, which are available for years 2003 to 2021, and will be included for anyone in the Leo lookups. And for I2, this table now includes IDBR data linked to individual earnings data via the employee ID code. A de-identified employer level lookup table derived from the IDBR will also be made available. UCAS data is also going to be available in the second iteration, and this covers applicants to English HE providers and acceptances to UK HE providers from the year 2007 to 2021. So the second iteration of Leo will be available for access imminently, and be sure to look out for announcements via the Leo research community or any other comms you have with us. I've got our Leo program mailbox email listed at the end of the slides, and if you want to be put onto a Leo mailing list, then please feel free to drop me an email there, and we'll add you on to make sure that you're kept abreast of all these updates. So next slide, please, Greg. Thank you. So I think Leo is a fantastic source and it has many strengths, but I think it's important to think about its limitations as well. But let's start with the positives. So just to pick out a few, you can see here it's got massive statistical power. It's particularly strong for social mobility focused analysis. There's absolute horror typo there that I can't believe I missed. So this says national coverage up to age 27 when it should be 37 as per my previous slide. Apologies for that. And again, it has the ability to assess interventions much more effectively. Now, limitations, as I said, it is just England, and while in the future it would be great to have a UK-wide Leo, at the moment this isn't possible. But also, yeah, that's a good one. Why it could be difficult to explain why something is happening is again a limitation. So, Greg, if you'd like to go to the next slide, please. And then if you can click a few times until the reddish box on the right comes up. Yeah, perfect. Thank you. So I thought this slide would be useful because it's an example of a real Leo project, and it shows breaks down the data requested in order to complete that research. And I thought it'd be useful, in terms of people thinking about applying to access Leo. So we can see here that this individual looked at a project post-16 education and labour market activities, pathways and outcomes. So you can see here in the navy boxes, the National Pupil Database data they requested. So things from school census, Key Stage 4 data, and then some data from the ILR, some HESA, and Key Stage 5 data there, and then Leo at the end there in the red box. And you can see that they requested the IDBR data. This was an internal project, but the IDBR data will be available in I2 when it's available. So, of course, like any request for data, the request must be justifiable and appropriate for the project, but just thought it would be good to highlight what variables were used to support this kind of research. So we can go to the next slide, please, Greg. And again. So I think in terms of research priorities, I think with Leo, these aren't research priorities per se, but more of an example of what kind of questions can be answered using Leo. So for instance, here we've got, does going to an Ofsted rated good school have an impact on a person's labour market outcomes? Or when pupils are permanently excluded from school, are PRUs effective in improving outcomes for young people? So I think we're looking for innovative and exciting uses of Leo, as opposed to having specific areas of research that will be favoured or we're looking for when looking at applications, just thinking about what kind of things Leo can be used for. And in our next slide, we've got a few examples of some research that's been done. So these are projects where researchers have accessed the Leo via the SRS service. just to give you kind of a taste of what kind of projects are being run at the moment that use the Leo data. So for example, just to pick out a couple, we've got IFS there looking at the long run effects of EMA, Education Policy Institute looking at the breadth of 16 to 19 curriculum and employment outcomes, and Recenter at Uni of Oxford looking at care leavers transition into the labour market. So also just to mention that, oh, we've got some more here as well. So we also have a full list of the research projects that use Leo, which is on our Leo research community, which I think some of you are looking at names. I recognise a few who already accessing the community, which is great. So yeah, I'll give you some more information about how to join the community to kind of keep up to date with announcements, kind of share that knowledge with other Leo users. And there's also a library there, which has a lot of information about Leo. So to the next slide, please, Greg. And again, if you click again. Yeah, perfect. So just again to mention the Leo research community. So this is hosted on a Knowledge Hub, the K-Hub. And the purpose of the community is to establish and grow the Leo knowledge base, enable peer-to-peer support for all Leo analysis, and generate evidence to help develop the service and its data. So it's open to all UKSA accredited researchers, and it includes people who are currently using Leo, kind of a lot of different kind of familiarities with Leo, people who are just starting out, people who are thinking about applying to use Leo. And it helps to kind of have that place to discuss Leo. There's lots of useful documentation in the library. We'll always advertise any events or announcements on there. There's a place for people to share ideas about things that they think, you know, could be used to improve Leo. So definitely, if you're thinking about applying to use Leo, then I'd strongly recommend joining the Leo research community. And there's just some information there. So I think Greg said that the slides would be shared after this session. So there's links on there. That'd be great. So yeah, I think that's it for our kind of brief introduction to Leo. As I said at the start, we also have a Leo mailing list. So if you'd like to join that as well, or instead of joining the research community, please drop an email to our Leo program mailbox there. And we can get you on that to make sure that you're kept up to date with any kind of updates to Leo.